Hello, and welcome to the Sugar Bell Review, a program dedicated to learning about the people, places, and policies that make up the Bellbrook Sugarcreek community. This evening, we have with us Joanne Mushala of the Winters Library, a local favorite among our little people.
Yeah, I hope so.
I am very interested to hear a little bit more about you.
All right.
Because I have heard some glowing reviews.
To the people under 3 feet, yes.
I would say mine were a little too big, so we kind of passed that stage before we moved in, so I haven't had the opportunity to get to know you myself. So would you tell me a little bit about how you ended up at Winters?
All right, I'd be happy to, and thank you for having me so I can come, and it's nice to have at least this way to say hi to the kids again, because I sure do miss them, in the library. Yes, I am Joanne Mushala. I am the Youth Services Librarian here at the Winters Library. And my trail here has been long and interesting. My husband was career Air Force. Both my husband and I were brought up and educated in New York State. And the Air Force let him get an extension for his graduate work. Luckily, because we were a few years apart in college, so I like to think he stayed in Troy, New York for his degree and me.
Aww.
Because and I'm still with him. So.
Definitely worth the wait.
Must be. So we're from Troy, New York, and we started on the Air Force, and we spent 30 years. My husband retired as a senior officer here at Wright Pat. He earned up to 2 stars. So
Wow.
we've done a lot, saw a lot. We've lived in every single time zone of the United States, and we've lived on 2 continents.
Well, that's impressive.
And through it all, I always knew I was married to a man who was very conscientious about his job. And I wanted to be too. And I'm a teacher.
Okay.
I was certified nursery through 6th, and we started moving. It's not easy for military spouses to sometimes get jobs in communities. And the one kind of a job I could always get and keep would be a early childhood. So I would teach the little 3s and 4s. So I've taught in daycare centers, I've taught in private schools. For 1 year in Los Angeles, I worked in a Montessori school, which I'm a rather traditionally trained teacher, so Montessori was a whole different experience for me.
Yeah.
But it was very enjoyable, and I learned a lot. Every experience adds on to what you can offer, and our assignment before Wright-Patterson was at Hanscom in Boston, Massachusetts, and there was when I found a job in library.
Oh.
I was the school librarian, and the school was on base. I tell the kids who come in that are military, I speak Air Force fluently, so I could identify with these kids, and they were grades 4, 5, and 6. So I was their librarian, and I loved it.
Those are good ages for
yeah,
communication.
It was one of my favorites, because I had student taught 3rd and 5th, and then for all those years, I was working with the young ones, which I do love. I can't say, but
so sweet
it was fun to be able to get into that. So to make a long story short, I looked for a job when I came here to Wright-Patterson, and they were hiring a youth services part-time person in Fairborn. So I spent 11 years in the Fairborn branch, where I predominantly did teen services. I would do teen advisory groups and work with teens programming and things like that.
It's a big switch from working 6th grade and under.
It is a switch, but boy, I loved it. I did love it. And then I had the opportunity to come to Bellbrook, and I saved the best for last. As soon as I hit and saw that little library, I knew that's where my heart belonged. And I went from a part-time job to a full-time. Normally people advancing in age go the reverse, not me. I decided to go, to full-time, and I've loved every minute of it. There's nothing like these Bellbrook children and families. They are just very special, and obviously this will be the end of my career at some point. I'll be retiring within the next year or so, but boy, I saved the best for last.
Well, you do seem to have made quite an impression on them.
I hope so.
Miss Joanne has come up in many conversations I've had in the last few years as very positive influence. So.
I hope so, because I do love it. I've been lucky because the schools in the area have been embracing. Now, if I can talk about story times for a minute.
Oh, absolutely. Please tell us a little bit about the library.
When everything is kind of going normal, now this is pre-COVID and all of what we're doing now, but I did 2 story times every Wednesday for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, or for the 3s, 4s, 3s and 4s, 2s, 3s, and 4-year-olds. And on Thursday mornings, I would do one story time for babies,
Aw.
6 months to 24 months.
Okay.
So that would be my regular schedule. And then I was lucky enough to go into the preschools. So I would go into Happy Child twice a month. I went into the Bellbrook Community Church preschool twice. I would go to the school's preschool twice, so I could hit different times. And then I would go to the Greene County Education Center that's in the old education building, I believe, and I would read to their kids. So I would do an average of 20 story times a month. So I must admit, going into this where we've been stopped in our tracks, I had a bit of a culture shock. Going from all these exposures to kids, and all of a sudden, I'm the curbside phone lady now.
That is definitely an even bigger shift from littles to teenagers.
It is. So now I'm answering the phone, for our curbside service, which is a wonderful service that we're doing, and we'll maintain for a while. But we've started doing virtual story times.
Oh, that's good.
So quite a few of us who make it a practice of doing story times for our libraries are online. You go to our home page. You just scroll down a bit, and there we all are. You can have a morning story time, get up and move story time, or a bedtime story time.
Wow.
So we have taped these via Zoom, although you do not need to register. You can just get on, click, and watch us do a story time.
More like a YouTube video.
Exactly. And all of us are each of us have our own style. Each of us have our own method of what we do. I tend to be a puppet person. Not that I have voices, but I do have some cool puppets.
Yeah. Some friends. Would you
some
like to
friends.
share
I
your friends
would.
with us? I would love to
normal
meet
story
your friends.
Time, let me move this. I do have friends, and certain kind of puppets, like this little guy is what they call a stage puppet. He's the type that would be used, if you had a stage and he would come up, and do his thing, and everybody, would see him, and it would just be your arm. Now, a lot of my puppets, and most of mine are called Folk Manus. It's a company that makes them, are the full body. Now, this one is a new one. So this is his debut for being. He's still a little stiff on the inside, but he's really cute. Now, what happens is I will plan a story time based on a certain group of books, a theme usually.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll do just hodgepodge and pick books I like and do it. But I'll sometimes try and pick a theme, and then I'll bring my puppets in that go along with that. So we actually have quite a few cute little books with gorillas as a focus. So that's when he would be used. And then I also like to do, particularly in the fall, owls.
Okay.
And so I had to bring in my great horned owl. And what's fun is that I'll usually try and I'll introduce the books, with the puppets. And of course, he can turn his head. And, the kids go, wow, it's that. I wish I had better voices for them, but he's really
That's an impressive
pretty
puppet,
good.
though.
He is. They are beautiful.
Impressive.
And not to be undone by my little guy, I have
Aw.
the barn owl. So here's the barn owl, and again. And what we'll usually do, I'll usually have a few facts about, because most of the puppets are based on realism. So I would give a few little facts, and then go into the stories, and then let the kids play with them at the end, if they so choose. And we would do that. But I have to bring out one of my favorites. He's the guy that just, high fives and gets, waves and gets ready to go, the type of thing. So we have fun with him, because I also try and point out to the kids that the crow is the smartest of all the birds. And how do I know that? It's from a book. We have a nonfiction book that's all about the crows of Caledonia, and they've done some research. And a crow is the only bird that uses a tool. And it actually has video or pictures of them doing what they do to get food. So pretty cool. So I try and give them real facts as well as the fun stories.
And this is continued with the Zoom.
It is. I have my puppets out there, and I will bring them out and have them, work and do what I can.
So I see you've brought a couple of books to share too.
Well, I did. I wanted to also say, during this time, libraries I think were always important. But I think during this time, I think parents should remember that we usually have books about tough subjects. I have some books on display right now about, are you feeling sad? Are you worried? And books about issues that just are very topical right now, for our children. And one of the books I brought, and when we read a book online, we must get publisher permission. Now, when COVID-19 started, many of the publishers gave blanket permission that books that are under their umbrella can be used during this time.
Yeah.
What we're in the process of trying to find now is, have the dates been extended? Because it was until August 1st.
Okay.
So I cannot read a book right now without positively knowing that we have the publisher's permission. But I did bring a few, just to show. Because like this one is one where it's, all of us. And the whole purpose of it is we are standing strong together.
Okay.
All of us together. When your heart is heavy, your step unsure, and the path unclear, and it goes on. And it ends with, love will never fail, that we're a world together.
So it's very much
love.
more of a
very much so,
community. We're in
also,
this together.
Just reminding children that, we are a world and we are all going through the same things. And that in a time like this, it's fun to remember it. This particular book is called, All of Us, and it's by Karen Berger.
Okay.
And again, the publisher is, I do believe it's HarperCollins. Green Willow Books, which is a subsidy of HarperCollins. So again, something we do have books like this. If you find you have a need for something like this, come into the library, call me.
Okay.
And we can find things like that. I am pleased to also show, for people that don't know, we have something new called a Wonder Book. Ooh. Now we have them in picture books, and we have them in chapter books and nonfiction books. And what it is a book where it will be read to you. There's a mechanism on the front, and you turn it on, and it will read the book to you. You can also have it be where it'll ask you questions. So you can be in reading mode, or you can be in question mode. But you can listen to it for quite a while. When they come back into the library, we charge them. So when we send them out, it should be good to go. But again, if you've not checked one out yet, Wonder Books. It's a really fun new way of working with an audiobook without the CDs and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite that you would recommend? What's the
book?
one do you have one that you just love reading to the kids, or even an author that is you kind of go back to?
Well, there's one. Again, with my owls. I think I always try and do something in the autumn with my owls. One of my favorite books is called Owl Babies. And it's about this mother who goes off to, she leaves her 3 little babies, waiting for her, and she goes off to hunt. And and then they keep sitting there being worried, and one of them says, "It'll all be all right," and they try and convince themselves. And then there's the youngest is Bill, and Bill is saying, "I want my mommy," and he's not happy. That's one of my favorites. And and there's just, let me see what else. I actually made puppets to go along with the 3 Little Fishes and the Big Bad Shark.
Ooh.
I like that. No message in that one, but
sounds like a variant
but it's
of
a good one.
Fairly familiar tale.
Yes. And I did want to also bring up, while we have some time, is you as a parent are your child's first and best teacher. And right from the beginning, there are things that you can do. There's an initiative called Every Child Ready to Read. Now, it's not just we in Winters, it's not just Greene County Public Library, it's any good library system, is advocating things like this for early literacy, begins with you. And it's to give parents confidence that, in the old days, the brochures used to be how to give them phonological awareness. Well, that's lovely, and, all about all these fancy words. But what it comes down to is there are actually just a few things we ask you to do. Talk to your children, sing to your children, read to your children, write, and play. Those are the 5 early literacy skills that if every parent works on with their young ones, will get you to hopefully a proficient and good reader, as we go in.
You want to finish up and show me the other two real
Yes,
quick? We're
very
running
much.
a little low on
Oh,
time.
I'm sorry.
So no worries.
That's typical for me. If you don't know, Greene County Public Library is one of the many libraries in the county, but we were the first in Ohio to be part of the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. It's where every child from birth to the age of 5 who is enrolled in it will get a free book.
Oh.
For all of those times. The very first book they get it in the mail. It is the first book they get is The Little Engine That Could, and the very last book they will get is about starting kindergarten. So if you have not enrolled your child in this, please, you can go online or come and see us, and we will give you the paper for that. And the other issue is we have a program ongoing called 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten, and you get to enroll your young one. And you get prizes. I have a big treasure box, and every 100 books every 100 books you get a little prize from the box. You get a book at the 500 point, and you get the cutest. I wish I'd brought it. Cutest little backpack with a fox on it for 1,000. So we are
an adventure for sure.
Our services are a little bit limited, but we are still what we always are to be, and we are there for the community.
Well, we are so grateful that you could come with us and come this evening, and that you're a part of the community, especially working with such young minds that are so full of potential. So thank you.
It's
so
definitely
much.
my pleasure. So thank you for letting me come in and talk a little.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. We hope you enjoyed getting to learn a little bit more about Joanne and what she does at the Winters Library. And we hope you will join us the next evening we show up on your Facebook feed.